The election is now over. A hard and at times bitter campaign has come to an end. On the results, the People's National Congress, in the interests of peace and stability in Guyana, has agreed with the support of the United Force to form the government. One of the more serious tasks facing us at this moment is the attainment of independence at the earliest point of time. One of the disturbing features of the election, which we have noted, is the apparent cleavage existing in our society, brought about by colonialism and 7 years of mismanagement and misrule. It has come to our knowledge that despite the years of disaster suffered by the people of this country, a large section of the electorate was persuaded against its best interests to vote for the party formerly in power as a result of the dishonest and opportunist propaganda that, unless that party was returned to power, those people would suffer. The new government, headed by me, intends to show by its actions in the immediate future, and indeed throughout its term of office, that this is not true. The problem of racial cleavage, racial antagonism, and distrust, which the last government allowed to develop during its term of office, is still with us. But our government recognizes this as a challenge which it intends to accept and which it is determined to overcome. My government considers that it is a matter of the greatest importance and the utmost urgency that an atmosphere of relaxation be established immediately. The reduction of tension, which is already apparent and which will become more pronounced with every passing day, when it is realized that not only are we intent on being fair and just, but also that we have at our disposal the means to carry out our intention, is merely the first fruits of our attainment of office.
All right. Hey, guess what? Good night and welcome to Straight Up. I know a lot of you were looking for me. Some of you sent out wanted bulletins. You had all manner of things. Some of you inboxed me, cussing me out the regular Guyanese style. Some of you were sending me those emojis, those rotten faces, and all manner of things you did to me privately, all because I was missing in action. So what can I do other than just to say that I'm sorry? And when you guys don't see me, know that I try my best to be on. And if not, don't get angry. Heading up there like Tom upstairs in terms of age, heading up there. Tom, that was Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, the late President Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Today happens to be the death anniversary, 39 years ago. When was it? August 6th, 1985. I recall I was a little boy, not too little, but I heard on the radio that President Lyndon Forbes Burnham died. But you heard that speech, inaugural speech in 1964 by Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Then I want you to listen to this here, and then I'll ask you my question.
Right across Guyana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal.
All right, this is a guy who's been installed into office, is talking about illegal regime. That's him, Barrett Jagdale. And then we go to this one here, this other thing here. Where is it? Here we go.
How old are you?
I am 28, sir.
And where do you live?
In Kitty.
You own your own home?
Not as yet.
Applied for a house lot?
Not yet.
Well, sit down. You're not participating on the enhancement of your own life. At 28 years.
All right, that's it. Air finale, and then we go back to this guy.
Enemies of this country would like to see racial division and antagonism continue. They will not have that satisfaction. The government recognizes that its duty is to rule in the interests of all the people of this country. It will dispel the fears of the apprehensive and confound the hopes of those who seek the destruction of this country. To be specific, this government holds that all the people of this country are equally important, whether they belong to a large group or to a small group.
All right, Tom Anderson, as always, our guest here on 107.1 FM. No stranger to you guys. Tom, let's get your take. You just heard Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, former president, the late president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and you heard the other two. Let's get your take, sir, as we begin.
Well, yeah, I mean, time has passed, right? And we're at a point now where, fortunately, the people of Guyana have enjoyed a land and a country that Mr. Burnham worked hard, and the people of the government at that time worked hard to put together. So the people of Guyana are now benefiting from the work of these of your previous forefathers who really put the work in and clearly were very thoughtful and had really good intentions. And you can see with the country being in the position that it's in today to have the kind of success it can have going forward, this was done by these people in the past. And so hopefully the people of today and within Guyana can work together to encourage new leadership that can fill in and build what previous leaders like Burnham did and put everyone in place to have a good future. Now it's time to take advantage of it. And I think the country needs more people like him, more thoughtful people coming from that approach to help the country flourish and do well.
All right, well said. Thank you so much, Tom Anderson there, opening the batting. And I tell you what, for those of you who are now joining us, thank you, as always, for joining us. And those of you who have already shared the link, we thank you so much as well. God is going to bless you guys in every way possible when you share the link. And the more you share the link, the more blessings you will get. Right? Sound like an evangelist there for a moment. Jimmy Swaggart, come on, put your hands to the screen. And I see some of my relatives running, putting their hands to the screen, television screen, all manner of things. But thank you all so much. Look, regardless of what they say, Forbes Burnham, President Burnham, there's none. And when you talk about even Chelly Jagan, as what the PPP loves to do, to make it look as though Chelly Jagan has done so much for Guyana compared to Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Not true at all. The man that has Guyana where it is in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education, you name it, free education from nursery to university. But yet these Pacus want to be ungrateful. Yet some of these PPP trench crappos want to be ungrateful. Who? Not the PPP. Free education from nursery to university. Unfortunately, it was the PPP who stopped free education at the university level. They stopped it. They blocked it. For 20 plus years, deprived young people of having that access. Those who can't afford it have access to the University of Guyana. They have denied the people of Guyana. They have destroyed an entire generation because of selfishness. But Forbes Burnham, all the things that they cuss Forbes Burnham about are the very things they're rushing to do now. Feed, clothe, and house the nation. Every single thing. I wonder where Guyana would have been if Burnham had was still around for 10 more years or 15 more years. They love to call him a dictator and all manner of things. But I tell you guys what, Burnham, those of you who lived under Burnham, and I've spent a few years under Burnham when he was president as a little boy. And I tell you what, those were some very, very good days. But some of the most brutal days that I have lived under in Guyana was under the PPP, primarily under Barrett Jagdeo. Brutal, brutal days. Anyways, death anniversary to celebrating the death anniversary of Forbes Burnham. And we remember him this day, 39 years ago. They had a little something there at the Botanical Garden where his tomb is. A little something. But we've got to move on. We have some other things. We are still in the Burnham time. This guy, the youngest minister of government. I believe he was 23, just got out of medical school out of Cuba. And Simpson Desilva, Dr. Simpson Desilva passed away. Sometime last week. And so we want to extend our condolences on behalf of his wife, Nicola. I just spoke with her a few minutes ago. Condolences to her, condolences to his entire family, out originally from Lancaster, I believe, Lancaster, Liverpool, on the quarantine. So condolences to his brother, Dr. Josh. Lots of doctors in his family, but he was the youngest minister at the age of 23 under Forbes Burnham government, Minister of Agriculture. And for many years, he's been telling people, urging people to plant, to eat right, and all these things. He was a dear friend of mine. But I remember as a little boy, we always, our teachers will remind us, they will remind us that the youngest Minister of Agriculture was Dr. Perry or Dr. Simpson Desilva. And I've had the pleasure of working along with him too, through the Benchap Foundation. Lots of things he did. A lot of people don't know it, but Dr. Desilva was actually one of those architects behind the scene. Thank you so much. And photograph here with the current mayor of Georgetown. He was then the chairman, that is Sharma Solomon, and the stepdaughter of Dr. Desilva is there. She's now a doctor as well, and former Army officer Aubrey Rettimeyer. This was an occasion out in Linden on behalf of the Benchap Foundation. All right, so Tom, we want to get down to business here. Again, let's welcome all of our folks, every single one of you. All right, where do we start? Let's start with Venezuela. Questionable elections. We saw the State Department issued a release congratulating the opposition and basically saying that Maduro rigged his way into office. Your take on the just concluded elections here, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, what's happening is still going on, so it looks pretty dicey right now, what's happening there. And then you've got the Russian ships over in Cuba that they've added 3 new ones. So definitely there's a geopolitical issue going on in Venezuela. Maduro lost. It looks like everyone in the region is telling him, hey, man, it's time to either show proof of you really winning or something has to happen. So we're still in the beginning stages of this. There's still a lot more to come on this. And I got to say, with the U.S. elections going on and where we are now, with what's happening with Ukraine, with what's going on in Israel, man, there's a lot going on in Africa. There is a lot going on, and this is a big part of it, right? So and most people can probably feel it. There are things moving that are huge. The world is going to change here. And what's happening in Venezuela is the beginning of an international shift, it seems to me.
The beginning of an international shift in Venezuela, rigged elections by Maduro. He is talking about rounding up opponents, those who are marching and so forth. That's what he's doing. We take a look here. Maduro's security forces round up Venezuelans. In other words, you know what? You go out and you protest. You protest. You exercise your right to protest. He's locking them up. Sooner or later, he's going to start locking opposition leaders up. He's going to start locking journalists up. And then he's going to come up with this fake thing that some members of the Venezuelan army want to overthrow him. That's the playbook of a real dictator. And then we will see the playbook of America saying, look, you're going to be sanctioned. Judges will be sanctioned. Ministers of his government will be sanctioned. Army officers will be sanctioned, visa sanction, and other sanctions. All of that is coming soon. You predict?
Well, I mean, of course, that's there, but right now it's hard to predict anything, Mark. I mean, seriously, man, it's just impossible. Everyone should really watch this situation closely, pay attention to it, because anything I believe is possible, and what happens in Venezuela will have an impact on the entire world. So it's huge what's going on right now, and it's precarious. It's scary, like you pointed out. He's rounding people up, but then you've also got the people running around the country kicking down statues, kicking down murals in honor of him. And I mean, I've seen police taking off their uniforms and saying, "Nah, man, we're not doing this anymore." So yeah, this is that is a chaotic situation there in Venezuela. And on top of that, you've got Maduro going after Elon Musk, which was totally out of control. But you also have that going on. So that's chaotic. And like I say, it's going to have an impact on everyone. And so especially people in Guyana have to watch that situation, have to pay attention to that closely, because whatever happens, like I said before, is going to affect everyone, Mark. I mean, it's a big deal.
Big deal, but Elon Musk, he seems to be having the time of his life. He wants to get in a boxing ring to fight Maduro. I see that as a distraction. It doesn't do the people of Venezuela any good. Elon Musk is just having a time of his life. He seems to like to meddle a little bit with dictators. He just had a phone chat with one of those dictators in Guyana. And, that's just basically a showboat, in my opinion. But back to Maduro, Russian President Putin, in fact, Russia has congratulated him. And you mentioned earlier in the start of this discussion that the Caribbean people are not really going out to congratulate him. But I've just mentioned there, Putin congratulated him. And that little orangutan, as we say in Guyana, that little orangutan in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Gonzalez, the prime minister there, swiftly, even before the votes were finished counting, he congratulated Maduro. What's your take on Russia saying, look, the elections were free and fair, when in fact the evidence point quite to the opposite?
Well, obviously, the natural resources in Venezuela are important to the Russian people and the Russian economy for some reason, which, you can see how important it seems pretty important, but obviously Venezuela is more important to Russia than many, many places on the planet. So they're going to say whatever they need to say to try to keep that thing under their control, because whatever benefits they're receiving, it's keeping them in the position they are in as a world leader and a world power. Without Venezuela, they may collapse. That's what it seems like to be. And so they're going to say whatever it takes.
All right, to say whatever it takes. Again, if you're now joining us, it's Tuesday, the 6th day of August, 2024. Good night to all of you. It's really good to see you back. I'm just glancing at some of your comments. All right, so there are other things we wish to talk about. Let me just remind you guys that the PPP regime, Irfan Ali and these guys, they were big on these GDF officers when they died in that helicopter, quote unquote, crash. They rushed to the sides of the family, pretended as though they care, and then they promised a proper, thorough investigation. Months upon months. And then we heard that they sent the black box to the US to be examined. It's been months again, and not a word about the investigation, not a word about the findings of the black box from that helicopter. Shame on the PPP regime. Are you surprised, Mr. Anderson, that a black box from the helicopter sent to the US, and it's been almost 6 months now, I believe, or maybe 4 or 5, whatever, and nothing at all? What's your take?
Well, actually, that doesn't sound too abnormal, believe it or not. These things usually take a while. And when it's two nations working together, two separate, it's going to take a while. So I'm actually not that surprised. And on top of that, depending on what's in there, there could be some sensitivities and things that need to be dealt with. So that's not that 6 months is, I've seen longer, really. So that's something that sounds like it's in line, and it's probably something really sensitive, right?
In fact, it's probably so sensitive that they no longer want to release whatever is there. But this is a helicopter crash. This is not like a big Boeing 707 that probably went into an ocean, and then they have to dive, and then they have to spend weeks or so to recover the black box. This was a simple case. The black box was right there for me. And thank you so much, Cheryl Panchin. In my opinion, the installed government of Guyana is hiding something from the nation. They're hiding something from the families of these army officers who lost their lives, and something isn't adding up here at all. In fact, this may be another case, according to Barra Jagdeo. He did say that the late former, that is the head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, who died, took a lot of things concerning the crime wave and murders and death squads, a lot of those things to his grave. Jagdeo himself mentioned that he will be taking a lot of things to his grave as well. And it appears that he's going to be taking this particular information from that black box and the cause of that accident, or so-called accident from that helicopter, that Jagdeo will be taking that to his grave, the information to his grave as well. Shame and disgrace. Speaking of Jagdeo taking stuff to his grave, he's probably still in New York, have some medical checkups and all manner of things, and we'll deal with that later on. Some other things we wish to deal with, Tom, as we prepare to go into some other issues as it pertains to the elections here in the U.S. But before we do that, here's a school bus fire. The Guyana Police Force is saying that an act of arson. The Guyana Police Force is saying it's an act of arson, and we're not hearing from the Guyana Fire Service to know what's the cause of the this fire. But yet the police has concluded that it's an act of arson. The people within the Ministry of Home Affairs, mainly the Minister of Home Affairs, is quiet on this issue. I don't know if they burned this bus by themselves. I don't know if they firebomb it. I don't know. But I'm just, we are not surprised that even the Ministry of Education is so silent. As we prepare for elections in Guyana, are you surprised at these quote-unquote random acts? A school bus set afire? Tom?
Well, I mean, well, if you think about the situation, like you just said with Jagdeo, right? Any leader is going to go to their grave with information that no one else is going to know about, or very few people. And so because of that, one of the things I've said over and over again as I've come on, right? And you have to think about from my perspective, right? So here in the United States, what I'm doing is I'm doing government watchdog work. I'm doing research and working with the media and government agencies, other things. I'm doing things to look for corruption, look for and basically help our people here and our local citizens that I live around, state and federal. I'm playing the role that I play is going in and seeking out corruption in unique ways, in ways that I have a skill set for that very few people in the world have. And so when I'm doing that, what I'm realizing and what I'm noticing here in the United States and everywhere else is many, many people and our citizens, especially in democracies, they're not really taking the government that they're in as serious as they should. They're not realizing that the people who are holding office are doing things and are having to deal with things that are so sometimes bad and are on such a serious level, especially geopolitically, that sometimes they go to their grave with these things. And the citizens need to understand that that's what your elected officials are handling now, especially in today's world. So in today's world where you have oligarchs, where you have people with very powerful weapons, nations that are sort of out of control, and you have people trying to come into Guyana and other places in that region to abuse the place, to steal resources, to do all types of mayhem. Your elected officials are in a position where they sometimes are risking their lives. They sometimes are seeing things that no one should have to see. And most people aren't really exposed to this or are not realizing this. But that's what's happening. And that's happening more than not. So when you see things like school buses burning, you have to understand, right, that that's just a little sign of the seriousness of what's going on in Guyana. And you will see coming into the elections that things will get much more serious, because everyone right now in that region they're facing serious issues, serious problems that affect the entire planet. So when that's happening, the people of Guyana have to realize that these are serious elections. They have to organize at a local level. They have to hold their elected officials accountable, and they have to constantly be together, united as a people, especially on a local level, to constantly be pushing and supporting their elected officials to do right by the people of Guyana. If that isn't done, if the people of Guyana are not organizing to do that, the country is in trouble. Everyone is in trouble, because we need that region to be in an organized place. We need a country like Guyana to lead the region, to have a government that can be an example to everyone else. That's what the world needs. Period. End of story. So that's the seriousness of the situation. The people of Guyana have to realize that they are in that situation, and that their votes and that their organizing on a local level has an impact on the entire globe now. It's that serious.
Yeah, and you did mention that the leaders are putting their lives at risk, and I'm not sure that while you might be close enough of scoring some points on that, I believe that a lot of people are of the view that these corrupt leaders, especially the ones that are there right now, people are not concerned whether they are putting their lives at risk or not. But what people are concerned about, and we see this every single day, that these so-called leaders today in Guyana, especially under the installed PPP regime, are putting majority of Guyanese at risk, either that they are fighting against the ordinary citizens when it comes to insurance, oil spill, and all these manner of things. We saw that Jack Deo is on the side of Exxon. We saw that Irfan is on the side of Exxon. God forbid that there's a oil spill in Guyana. They are basically siding with Exxon when it comes to oil spill insurance and these things. And they doing that. I'm not concerned. Honestly, I'm not concerned about whether they're putting their lives at risk or not. At least we're not seeing the evidence that they're putting their lives at risk for the people of Guyana. But what we see in the reverse is that they're putting the people's lives at risk. Majority of the people of Guyana, their lives are at risk as a result of these corrupt leaders.
Yeah, Mark. What I'm saying is that for the leadership you want, right? If you want good leadership, no matter who it's coming from, those leaders in the current situation we are in, they will be putting their life at risk sometimes. It's going to be the case, okay? And I'm not even talking about just on the national level, on the local level as well, right? So this isn't it's one thing, right, to sit here and this is what happens in the United States, where we have political parties and people decide that what they're going to do is attack the other party, and that's just enough in order to win in politics. But it's not enough. In politics, you have to have and it has to come from the people. You have to have real leadership that actually goes in, and when they get the position, they actually do the right thing by the people. That doesn't
Tom, I like that. I like that. Real leadership, they go in and do what is necessary for the people. Corrupt leaders, as we are seeing right there in Guyana, and of course other parts of the world, but zeroing in on Guyana, is they go into office to reap and to take what they can take for their friends, cronies, and family members. That is what we see. They enrich themselves. Every single day we see it all across the world, but more so in Guyana. We see these guys who were basically cricketer catcher, walk around with probably a slippers, renting a shop front in Kitty, a place in Georgetown. Now they are billionaires. They have hundreds of millions of dollars in their bank accounts. Some of them have bank accounts in the US, some in Canada, some in China, and so forth. So these guys get into office to enrich themselves, not to do anything for the people. We see that.
Well, Mark, we have the same thing in the United States. We just had a jury find a member of the Senate, Senator
But-
Bob Menendez, guilty of 16 counts of corruption of all types. This happens here too.
The difference is these guys go to jail in America.
Oh, whoa, no, you're wrong. You are wrong. They don't go to jail. The reason why Senator Bob Menendez is going to jail is because people like myself did over 15 years of work, period. That's why. It's not because some accident happened. It's not because in America we're better. No, it's because individuals took it upon themselves. I'm not a leader in America, but guess what I did? I saw what was wrong, and I worked with the media, with other government agencies to deal with someone who was super corrupt, that was doing things to hurt people throughout the entire globe, right? But I did that. And guess what? A lot of sacrifices were made from my life personally to approach this from this road. Yes, that happened. Do I talk about it? No, and I never will. I'll go to my grave with some of that stuff. But with that said, that's what the people of Guyana have to do. You cannot leave it up to some random ghost to decide that someone's going to change the leadership. No, what you have to do is you have to first of all decide what you want in leadership. Then you have to go out and get the candidates that you believe in, and you have to support them and push them every day. On top of that, you go after the corrupt ones as well. But when you go after the corrupt ones, you use the system. That's what you do. You use the system the best way you can. And like I've said a million times, the best thing for the people of Guyana, if you want to deal with the corruption, is to start at the local level, focus on it, and build your way up. You can't, it's never going to happen if it's just complaining. You actually have to organize on the ground. You actually have to get people together, and you have to work with other elected officials to slowly but surely within the system replace the bad people. You just have to. And I've done it here, and I'm just saying that's the only way it gets done, even in America.
Thank you so much, Tom Anderson. 35 minutes after 9 o'clock, if you just join us. While Tom was talking about how it operates in America, and of course, he has done a lot of these investigative works that put his life at risk. Were he to have done such a thing in Guyana, living there in Guyana, I'm almost certain that we probably would have been putting a wreath at his tomb site at the Le Repentir Cemetery, because the government in Guyana, the PPP regime, they are notorious in terms of being in bed with death squads, notorious of being in bed with money launderers, gold smugglers, drug lords, and so forth. And lots of senior members of the Guyana police force are corrupt. They are part and parcel of a corrupt deal. And once you go after them, guess what? You will be smelling daisy. So to some extent, yes, in America, while you put your life at risk, you're a little safer in America. Not to say that you're safe in America. I'm not saying that, Tom. Safer compared to Guyana, because we had guys like Ronald Waddle assassinated under the PPP regime, Courtney Crummy Wing assassinated under the PPP regime. There are people who flee Guyana as a result of the corrupt PPP regime. There are others who died, hundreds of people who died under the PPP regime. Tom, you're laughing.
Yeah, Mark, same. Like I have to tell you, almost everyone I've worked with over the last 15 years, they are no longer here. Okay. First of all,
secondly, are they from right here in America?
Yes.
And when you say they're no longer here, they flee the country. They're just because
they're no longer on Earth. They died. And so this idea that everyone's safe here is not true. And not only that, but I have family members going back to the civil rights movement who suffered horrible abuse, who suffered permanent damage to their bodies, some also killed. So this idea that America is safer is not true, okay? This is a very violent place here, very violent place here. And the only reason why we have anything going for us and we have the changes we have is because many, many, many people have made many. We have so many dead bodies that have made so many sacrifices in this country. It's not that safe, man. It's just that we have people who are sacrificing a lot. And that's what has to happen. If you want a better nation, the people, the regular people on the ground have to sacrifice everything all the time, every day. That's the only way things will change, unfortunately.
And I agree with you on that note. I agree with you. We are not seeing that many brave folks out there in Guyana. People are afraid of being locked up. I'm talking about leaders. I'm talking about representatives. They're just afraid of protest. They're afraid of being locked up. They're afraid of going to jail. They're even afraid of dying. And sometimes I ask myself, if you have representatives who are afraid of being locked up, who are afraid of being jailed, or even afraid of being dying, well, what's the sense of claiming to be representing the people when you really don't want to make those sacrifices? I'm not saying that,
Mark, but most people don't. But Mark, most people don't know that that's what's on the line when you take elected office, for example. Most people aren't realizing that when you take elected office in Guyana, you are putting your life on the line. Period.
Or anywhere else, not just Guyana.
Exactly. In the United States. See, we're taking it like it's a joke and we're laughing and we're playing around. But the reality is, okay, that underneath the facade of it all, where it seems like we're this organized society, underneath it all is a lot of mayhem, death, destruction, corruption, everything you could imagine. It's really dirty down there. All right. It's so that's why it's so important for the good people everywhere to get together and not be ashamed of fighting for what is right. You can't be ashamed of that.
No. I agree with you 100%. And lots of sacrifices were made. And I'm saying that these people shouldn't be pussycat if they want to be activists, if they want to be leaders. They got to go out there and battle. It's not easy, but they've got to battle. I've lost some comrades, so to speak, in the struggle. Some have gone to jail, trumped up charges, all manner of things, but the struggle continues. You've mentioned a lot of folks that you have that have been on your side, working along with you for the past 15 years. None of them, not a single one of them, is still here. I still have a few friends who are still around in the struggle, but I'm glad that I'm one who's still here with you over the past.
Mark, that's the thing. You're one of the ones who's still here, right? I mean, not everyone. I will say I've got probably 2 or 3 who are still here, right? But unfortunately, and this is one of the things that people don't realize, when you are out there and you're an activist, or if you're like me, you're doing government watchdog work, it's imperative that you take care of your health. It's imperative that you take care of yourself. And the reason why is because the stress of it all will bury you by itself, right? The stress, it's stressful. And you know what? When you're an activist and when you're fighting the good fight, we're taught and we know instinctively that we don't show the distress, that we don't show the stress, that we don't show that we're being, that it's hard. But guess what, man? It's hard. Okay. We are happy warriors, but it's no joke. And so we have to look out for our bodies. We have to look out for our mental health, for our spiritual health. That's why it's imperative that everyone who's listening now, that you pray for us, that we pray for you, because that stuff actually matters, man. It really matters, because when you're in it for real, every little prayer counts. Every little good word counts. All the support matters, even the little support.
Tom, and you're so right, because as an activist, being on the ground in Guyana for all those years, being consumed by that struggle, and for me, that was my life. Going out there, risking it all, protesting, being locked up, coming out, being locked up, back out, being locked up, beaten up by the police. That was my life. And I mentioned that because recently I took a little break off to go celebrate with my older son, who just recently graduated there in the UK. And it was, for me, a different life, being away, on a little vacation. And you just mentioned that the health part of things too. Sometimes we do need that in life. And it was strange, but I enjoyed every moment. But it was strange coming out of a lifestyle of activism and being locked up and every minute just locked up and beaten up by the police and jail. And, sometimes we have to stop for a moment and take a mental check of ourselves physical check of ourselves, and we do need to let our hair down sometimes, so to speak. And so at least we are fortunate to do that. There's so many people out there who are no longer fortunate because they're not here. They've been killed in the struggle. Lots of guys and lots of folks have been killed under the PPP regime. And I can speak on that. I can speak on human rights because I've been there. I know how brutal this PPP regime is, especially when they're in bed with drug lords, money launderers, gold smugglers. And you've done a lot of work in that regards as to what's happening in Guyana. So you know exactly, to some extent, what I'm talking about there. Tom Anderson, my guest this evening, and those of you who have just joined us, good evening to all of you. Tom, I want us to get to. No, I don't want us to talk about 100,000 vacancies the PPP regime is talking about in Guyana. I don't know what they're talking about there, but I want us to talk about the choice of the running mate of Kamala Harris, Walz, all the way from Minnesota. The governor of Minnesota, by the way, he's 60 years of age. 60, Tom. 60. Tom, what's your take? I know on this program you did mention that it's a possibility that Mark Kelly would have been that guy. I'm surprised that Mark Kelly is not. And then we thought that Shapiro would have been that guy, the governor of Pennsylvania. It turns out that he's not the guy. Is this a surprise pick for you, Tom?
I mean, I am a little surprised, right? Because it's sort of like out of nowhere. Who is this guy? Right? So I didn't do any looking into him before today. I did a little bit of checking, but I just assumed, she's not going to pick some governor from Minnesota. Come on. Well, I can understand after looking today, I can understand why Kamala Harris picked him to be her running mate. And I'll tell you, it's one word. And it's funny because Trump gave the same word for why he picked his running mate, right? But that word is loyalty. Like, she picked him because what she needs more than anything in the White House, especially in today's world, is someone who is going to be loyal to her above anybody else politically. Okay. Now, of course, his first loyalty is to the Constitution of the United States of America, right? And he has loyalty to his God and to his family, but she wants herself to be right up there with his family and everybody else on the loyalty side because of what I was saying earlier, just a few minutes ago, right? What's happened in politics is things have, especially in democracies now, things have gotten so serious that the attacks politically are coming down on people's families. It's coming down on their personal businesses. You can agree or disagree with Trump, but at the end of the day, you can see that Trump is caught up in a boatload of lawsuits and everything else, right? And so that's why Trump said he picked J.D. Vance because of loyalty, right? He wanted loyalty. Trump thinks of loyalty differently than Kamala Harris. But that said, that's what she got. And you have to think of it this way. If you are someone who lives in Guyana or in the Caribbean or in Central South America or anywhere else in the world, this will be a complete, total sea change with how the United States approaches the world if Kamala Harris wins in November. And here's the reason why. Okay. Trump and the Republicans, if you listen to American politics, Trump and the Republicans like to talk about America first. And their goal as a party is to put American interest above all else with everything. Okay. Well, they haven't been good at getting that done. What's happening here, though, and the Democrats are considered the international party that is always caught up with socialists and communists around the world. They don't care about, they hate America is how it's viewed, right? Well, what's happening here is Kamala Harris, along with Governor Tim Walz, you have a situation where the two of them are not international geopolitical experts. They don't have a surrounding of individuals and professionals that they've been around for decades who are experts in geopolitical politics either. So no matter what happens, if they win, you will see an America first policy coming out of the United States for the first time, maybe in a long time, because everyone we've had in the White House for a while, they've been these sophisticated international types that are always trying to get involved in peace in the Middle East, Israel, whatever, you name it. They're always running around somewhere trying to do some stuff. Well, these two, Kamala Harris and Governor Walz, even if they wanted to do something internationally, they don't have the expertise to do it. They don't really have the staff or the team to do that. And so if they win, this is going to be so different for everyone around the world in how America approaches everyone else. I think people are going to be shocked.
One or two things, because the Midwest is also very important. Minnesota, then you have Wisconsin. Wisconsin has always been a battleground too, the blue and red. And Wisconsin is important. The entire Midwest is important for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. And so maybe it's a strategic move for having Governor Walz, albeit he seems to be the type of guy that would just lay low and allow the president, Kamala Harris, to be the president. Shapiro probably would have been, we would have probably seen a little bit confrontation there with him and the president. I still, for some reason, I still like, my choice was Mark Kelly. But this guy, I agree with what you've just said with regards to Walz being the obedient vice president, because that's what vice presidents ought to be, obedient. I have not, in my memory, there's no recollection that a vice president of the United States of America ever confronted the president, unless you have one in mind. Any?
I don't, and that's you're exactly right, Mark. Like, this is a situation where, he fits a very traditional role of a vice president in American politics, right? And it's his job to support her. And on top of that, he's going to be the attack dog for her to go after Trump and JD Vance, so she doesn't have to get negative. She can go around the country and stay positive, give her vision to the nation as to how she wants to govern, while he goes around attacking Trump and JD Vance. And he seems pretty good at it too, right? That's the other reason why she picked him, because this guy goes after those two, man, like there's no tomorrow, right? So that's the advantage here, man. And you have a guy who can go after those guys, but at the same time, he's not going to go after them for his own personal political gain. That's the key.
Absolutely. 60-year-old Walz, Governor Walz of Minnesota, you betcha. 60-year-old. And people I saw somewhere on Facebook, they're saying, well, we can't believe he's 60. Well, I'm not going to get involved in that. You never know when we reach 60 what it will be like. But yeah, this 60-year-old guy can very well be the next vice president of the United States of America. What are two qualities you found out about him, Tom, that you admire and you believe that voters will be so enthused about?
Okay, so one of the main things that I noticed, right, and just looking at him, and when I look at politicians and elected officials, the way I'm judging them is I'm looking at their campaign finance reports. I'm looking at their financial disclosure reports. I'm looking at public documents. I'm looking at previous legislation they passed. That's what I'm looking at, right? And so when I dug through him today, the main thing that stood out, and I was surprised. Okay, this was a shock, and I'm rarely surprised when I look at politicians, right? But the main thing I saw was that so in American politics, we have these things called political campaign committees, okay? And these committees, you can think of them as companies. So if Elon Musk has X or Twitter, right, you can think of a politician's campaign as their company, okay? And that company is allowed to do all types of stuff for them in order to help them win an election. Well, in American politics, we have a special type of campaign that we give elected officials like Tim Walz. We allow them to create a company where the only thing that thing does is raise money for other politicians, right? And so it started off good, where most politicians would raise some money and they would donate all that money to other politicians to help politicians in their party win elections. Well, what happened over the years was that turned into, for American politics, a slush fund. So most of the time now, and this is called a leadership PAC. When a member of Congress or member of our federal government as an elected official in the legislative branch, when they have a leadership PAC, what it basically does is lobbyists pour tons of money in for these elected officials to go on 5-star vacations around the world at special resorts, month-long vacations sometimes. It's ridiculous. Just hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's just total corruption, these things, okay? So when I saw that he had one, I go, oh, what's this guy up to? What kind of resorts did he go to with his leadership PAC? And I go in and I look, and all of the money was donated to other candidates. He wasn't using the money to go on vacations or anything like that. And I go, whoa, this guy's different.
So he's a different 60-year-old, one who means well for the people. And I get where you're coming from with that. But what about personality? Because the people of Minnesota elected him as governor. And the folks of Minnesota are no stranger to electing. They elected Jesse Ventura as governor as well in 1995, 96. And Jesse Ventura was the governor. What was it? He was a wrestler. He was elected twice, I believe. And then he went on to try to run for some other office. But what sort of other personality that this guy has that would resonate to the voting population?
Well, for American politics and for political sake here, the main thing that he's bringing to the table for Kamala Harris, and she needs it, right, is she's bringing sort of the straight white male voter to the table, right? And not only that, but like your dad or your granddad kind of vote to the table. And that's who he's going to be speaking for and representing on the campaign trail when he goes after Donald Trump and JD Vance. So why is that important? Why is that personality characteristic? Why is that coverage of him being this straight, the straight white guy on the ticket? Why is that so important? Well, the reason why it's important is because Trump and JD Vance, no matter what anyone says, they're going to run, and they are running, a racial-based campaign. They're going to get into the race stuff because they're trying to goad white males into hating Democrats and people of color and whoever else so much that they vote for Trump. That's the strategy. That's one of their main strategies. Well, when you have a guy like Tim Walz in the picture, and he's going to be calling them out every single day on all of the stuff that they try to do in flaring up anger and racial tensions between white men and everyone else in this country, women and everyone else. And that's basically what you see. So if you really want to look at the Trump dynamic and why this is a big deal, bringing Walz in, is because Trump really is trying to inflame anger within the white male community. That's what he's trying to do. And picking a guy like Walz and having Walz call him out on the stuff that he tries to inflame on is a huge strategy move by Kamala Harris. And I'm going to tell you, not everyone can pull it off. This guy seems like he can pull it off because many, many people have tried to counter Trump. Most have failed. It seems like Mr. Walz here, he's having some success. And the way you can see it is he's the one who started calling Trump weird. Okay. And that weird thing has hung on, okay, politically, and it's rolling. And people are looking at that like, okay, you know what? Trump isn't the big monster guy trying to end the world. You know what he is? He's just a weirdo. That's what's hitting him. And that hit has been so effective politically that, this is the way this guy's coming. And you're right to point out Jesse Ventura. He's coming from a totally unique place. Only the state of Minnesota could produce a guy like this. He's a genuine dude. He's maybe more genuine than Trump, which says a lot because Trump is one of the most genuine guys out there. You may not like him, but he's very genuine, right? And so those are the characteristics that he's bringing to the table that are significant. And I think they're under the table. And many, many people who are looking at this may be sleeping on this guy as being effective in what he's going to do in dismantling JD Vance and Trump on what they're trying to do on the racial stuff.
Okay, well said there, Tom Anderson. In fact, Tim Walz, Timothy James Walz, is originally from Nebraska, and he moved to Minnesota just at the time when Jesse Ventura was the governor. And so, a guy coming out from Nebraska into Minnesota, he ran for office, and he defeated a Hennepin County commissioner. What was the name? A Republican guy that was well liked, and he defeated that guy, became a member of Congress, and then when was it? He ran for governor in 2018, and he beat another Republican. And then he was re-elected in 2022. He beat another Republican in Minnesota. So he has a history of beating Republicans, coming from Nebraska into Minnesota. He served in the National Guard. He is also, practically all of his life, a blue-collar 60-year-old. How important is that to talk to the blue-collar people come November elections, Tom?
Well, it's huge because we're transitioning as a country, and we're moving into things socially and technologically that many people of his age group are tentative about and worried about, right? And they don't know where they fit in this world that's changing so fast, okay? And so he's someone that can speak to that, and he's someone that can show a path to people who are bewildered right now and wondering, well, where am I going with this? And you can see when he's speaking, he is constantly hitting on Donald Trump dismantling Social Security and Medicare, right? Like, he's going to be pointing out that, look, okay, going forward, we have some serious issues here in the United States with our entitlements. And he's the guy, 60 years old. He's very aware of it. He's going to tell everyone who is listening, this is what the Democrats' plan is, versus he's going to be saying Trump just wants to tear it all down and rip it all to pieces, right? And so that's where that's going to hit at. And if you're listening to him speak and you're a voter and you're undecided, who do you believe? Do you believe Walz when he says, hey, if we're not elected, me and Kamala Harris, Trump is going after Social Security? I think if you listen to Trump and you look at what's going on, I'm pretty sure that's going to resonate. And you're going to have older people really worried about their benefits, worried about the future. And Trump just isn't that steady when it comes to that. And so this is another reason why having this guy and his demographic like this is going to be huge going forward for the election.
All right. In fact, the grandson of an immigrant from Germany, we know that Trump got his great-grandfather, and these folks from Germany, albeit to different circumstances. He grew up, even his grandfather was a farmer. And so this reminds me of Jimmy Carter, who was a peanut farmer out there in Atlanta. But we're talking about a guy in West Point, Nebraska, grew up very poor. So he understands, he can relate to poor people. His father died just as he graduated from high school. And so he can understand what it's like being in a home of a single mother and so forth. So a lot of things can connect to the ordinary man, woman out there. And he seemed quite capable of articulating these sort of things and his experience. He seems to be the type of guy that's going to be very professional as to when it comes to immigration. The fact that he is a grandson of someone who is an immigrant directly out of Germany and so forth. So a lot of good points, Brownie points. Having outlined those Brownie points, and as you've said earlier, you did your research on him too. You put him now ahead of your choice, Mark Kelly?
Mark Kelly was still a great choice, right? It's like, to me, I think it came down to Kamala Harris's personal opinion on what she was looking at. And here's why I think I could be wrong, and I'm just guessing on this, right? But I'm just looking at the political situation in America. And I'm looking at Mark Kelly, and I'm looking at his situation with his family and how his wife was attacked and almost killed, Gabby Giffords, with the gun attack, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, with how violent our country is now and the type of threats that anyone is going to face who runs for office, maybe Mark Kelly wasn't the right guy to put in that position to have to, basically weather that storm and have to sit through constant threats to his life, his wife's life, and all that stuff. I mean, he's been through a lot, man. His wife has been through a lot. You know, do they really have to go through all that again? And that's unfortunately the situation in politics. And so I think that might have had some bearing on why he's not the pick right now, is because it's just that out of control right now in politics. And the media, unfortunately, in America has not covered this aspect of politics in America. And the reason why is because they are victims of it as well. But there is massive intimidation going on. There are things, violence, a lot of things going on behind the scenes, blackmail and everything else on all levels. So this is a very precarious time in the United States and the world. It's very serious. And I could see how, after what Mark Kelly's family has been through, maybe he wasn't the best pick because, you know, he's a little bit, I'm not going to say damaged goods, but man, they've been through a lot in their lives, right? And so maybe this guy is better because he's a fresh pick. He's a fresh face. He's out of Minnesota. He hasn't faced the grind that a guy Mark Kelly has, and maybe that's what you need.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom. He supports abortion rights. He is a 100% rating from the Planned Parenthood. The National Right to Life Committee gave him a rating. And then in 2009, Walz was actually voted for Ledbetter. We're getting some of the personal information here of this guy. The other thing, he is a former teacher, an educator, of course, lots of things, a military guy, and a combination of so many things that we are now hearing and reading about this guy, Walz. Seem to be always on the side of victory whenever he runs for office, beating his Republicans there out in Minnesota. And those folks out in Wisconsin seem to be happy with Walz. The blue-collar people seem to be happy. The union, there's a large union that just voted in favor or endorsed Kamala Harris. Trump is upset about that, but we are now understanding why these blue-collar workers and these unions will come out in their numbers now to vote and endorse Kamala Harris and her running mate, Timothy James Walz, governor of Minnesota. The other thing that's interesting too, Tom, is that for the first time we will see a woman governor in, American Indian woman, female governor, of Minnesota for the first time. Very significant. Tom, you were saying something. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say that, you know, the other issue here is, you know, when it comes to the political campaign and the campaigns running on issues, because abortion is on the table, right? And because guns are there, and there's some big issues on the table, right? And they sort of wipe out everything else. And so this isn't a complicated campaign. I think what this is coming down to is enthusiasm. Who can get their voters out the most? It's just, and that sounds like that's every election, but that's literally what this is. And so this is about enthusiasm. And I think picking Walz is that he's that kind of guy who has that X factor that can help get that little extra boost of enthusiasm you need to get the couple extra voters in there, right, at the last minute. And so that's the other thing. I don't know if Mark Kelly would have been that guy this guy, he might be 60, but boy, he has a lot of energy, man. He's got a lot of energy. And that's what you need if you're campaigning around the country over the next 90 days, right?
Well, you know, he's 60. He's still a young guy. Seems to have been in the trenches fighting a lot, though. Teacher, it's not easy being a teacher these days, too. You know, Tom served in the Army, lots of things. So kudos to him, even if he's 60. I'm sure he's a very strong and energetic 60-year-old. His wife, he has his daughter, he has some kids and all manner of things. And this guy seemed to have a lot of strength, lots of support, his two children. I don't know. Tom might very well be the good pick here indeed. Might very well do the trick in the Midwest and other blue-collar states. Good. So we just have to wish them all the best. Tom, as we prepare to leave our guests, our audience, this evening. Anything else you'd like to add as you see the campaign, you see the polls? Recently, I saw that Kamala Harris is in the lead, so to speak, have a slight lead over Trump. Your take on the polls, your take on this crystal ball and the elections?
Well, look, Trump is in trouble. He's in big trouble, man. He's in huge trouble. That entire thing is imploding on itself in every way you could imagine. Okay, so he's in massive trouble. I don't know if anyone has really thought about what happens if Trump loses, right? And that's something that people need to really think about, because if he loses, the dominoes that drop from there are just it's just mind-blowing what happens from there. In other words, we will have basically only one political party in America if Trump loses. That's how bad this will be if he loses. So they have Trump being a casino guy. He is at the poker table of politics in American politics, and he has put every chip in the middle, not just his own chips. He's put all the chips for the entire Republican Party on this table, on this election. And if he loses, they lose it all. So this may be something that could be historic. That's what they're riding on here, the Trump people. This could be a historic loss, not only for Trump, but for the entire Republican Party down ballot. That's where this is headed. And if that's the case, America will have the change people have been talking about since Obama. You will see a massive change here, and that's where we're at, man. That's where we are at in 2024.
And right after that, you'll see the disrespect. Lots of Republicans are going to come out and start tossing him aside and say, hey, that's it. That's it. That's it. It's finished with. Speaking of Trump, I know his hotel, that DC hotel that they had, sold for $100 million at foreclosure. This is a man who says that he's a big-time business. Foreclosure of a hotel that just not so long ago opened in Washington, D.C. Foreclosure. Sold at $100 million. Coincidentally, guess what? The guy who oversaw that, the selling of that hotel, is a Guyanese by the name of a Guyanese guy. Yes, Tom. His father is a well-known, and I'm talking about a real economist here, Clive Thomas, Dr. Clive Thomas. His son, Raoul Thomas, actually an economist, real economist, went through the school, graduated, got all of his papers, well qualified to be an economist. Raoul Thomas, you guys read up that article. Raoul Thomas was the guy who facilitated and ensured that the selling of Trump's hotel in Washington, D.C. that went into foreclosure sold recently for $100 million. I thought for a moment, Tom, since I didn't see you for the past 2 days, that you may have been the purchaser of that. Your closing remarks, sir, as we prepare to leave.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, the people of Guyana are looking at, huge change in their country. Here in America, we're looking at huge change. I mean, if you look around the world, you've got just institutions that have been around for about 70 years now. They are changing all over the place. So the entire world is in for just a massive change here. And look, hopefully the people of the world on the local level, the regular folks, we can band together and we can use our concerted effort to ensure that when the change occurs, that it changes for the better. Right? We have that power. It seems like we don't, but we do. And all it takes is for us all to get serious about it, not in a violent way. No, get serious about focusing in on a daily basis on making your community and your government better on a local level, and using that to leverage into making your community and your nation better on a national level. It's a serious thing. If people take it serious, if the good people, if the silent majority take it serious and we do it on a daily basis and we work together, I believe the change we will see going forward will be monumental, and to be something that all of us and all of our children and grandchildren can look at us and say, wow, man, they really put the work in. They really put us on a great path, right? That's the opportunity we have now, and hopefully we take advantage of it and we do it.
Thank you so much, so Tom. And Republicans, lots and lots of Republicans, quite a lot of Republican groups, we haven't seen much of that in the past, are supporting Kamala Harris and urging other Republicans to vote for Kamala Harris. The next time you appear on this show, Tom, I want us to talk about that as well. Lots of things. People are talking about the grassroots of Tim Walz, Timothy James Walz, grassroots, blue collar, real grassroots out there, blue collar. They're going to head out there and vote. They're not going to sit down and cuss out, but real grassroots, real votes, real elections, real leaders. Tom Anderson, thank you so much. And again, thank you for all that you do, putting your life at risk. You've done a lot. I can only just say that you've done a lot, knowing that personally, things that you have done over the past decade or so that I've known you, 15 years. And I'm so glad that I'm still around. The others are dead. And our good friend, our good friend became a millionaire. Our good friend became a millionaire. I wonder how he's doing in the U.S. here. You know,
I know, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
Thank you so much, Tom.
All right, Mark. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Tom Anderson there for you guys. It's always a pleasure being with you. I know sometimes when I'm not able to make it, you don't know how sad I am that I can't be with you, because being with you makes me happy, doing what I do with you and for you. All right, so I'll try not to make it a regular habit for not being on. But last night, I honestly, I just didn't set my alarm clock as I went to take a old man's nap. I slept through, so my apologies. Again, I promise you guys that it's not going to happen. I wonder what was this all about on Emancipation Day. Priya is overdoing the do, as we say in Guyana, right? She is overdoing the do. Why do people feel that they have to overdo the do? She tie up herself, wrap up her head, wrap around her neck, beads, all manner of things, all sort of things, tie up her head, decorate your nose, every single thing. And this is the same woman as Minister of Education would go right back and deny teachers a better monthly wage. She did every single thing to fight against the teachers. And we know teachers of all walks of life, yes, but the majority of those folks are persons of African descent. And so I wonder what these teachers are thinking as they look at her and like, why are you pretending that you really like us when in fact you don't? She just doesn't. And so on these holidays, I'm not saying that people shouldn't, look, I have a quota. I do have a quota. You guys know me already. But when people are faking it. Priya Manikchan is faking it. Have you ever seen her like this before? But all the years, she's been there before as Minister of Education. Have you guys ever seen her like this before? I mean, they know that they are on the verge of losing the elections. And I am of the view that Priya Manikchan is overdoing the do. As we say in Guyana, she is overdoing the do. Oh, man. How do you guys rate Priya Manikchan for this thing? From a scale of 1 to 10, sorry. From a scale of 1 to 10, how do you guys rate her for this? For me, y'all already know my rate. I gave her a 0. She gets no point, not a single point from me for this here. Not a single point. None. Carl Miller, we got to give Carl a rating here. Carl, give her a 3. What's wrong with Carl tonight, man? A 3? Carl? Lachman Aziz, give her a 0. Come to the front of the class, Lachman. June Beresford, you're all giving her a 0. She deserves a 0 for this. So the point is, do not be fooled. A lot of them gonna wrap around with this, wrap around with that. They gonna hug you, they gonna bring cash grant, they gonna do this, they gonna do that. All manner of things. Don't fall for it, guys. Don't fall for it. I want her to go around by this bus and explain to the people what really happened. This is was it David G. bus, school bus, that took kids free all around the country. We've had this. They abandoned the bus as soon as they got installed in 2020 for Borbies. So all the kids, hundreds of kids, probably thousands of kids in New Amsterdam, Pirish, all over there had to punish, and they continue to punish as a result of Priya Manik-Chan and her evil regime headed by those two notorious individuals, Bharat Jagdeo and this other guy, this whining man, dancer man, dotish dancing guy. All right, what else is happening in Guyana? Hey, take a look at this here. Look what's happening. Tesla, right? Tesla, Cybertruck, Tesla, right? Look at that. Look at that. I wonder, how much is it for one of these vehicles? We know we got some bright guys in the audience there. Come on, guys. How much Rajin, Bim, and John C. Paul, y'all bright still bright in there, right? How much is this vehicle? How much for this vehicle? In Guyana. How much for this vehicle? It's in Guyana. Who owns it really? People are that rich in Guyana? And I'm wondering, whoever owns this vehicle, what's the duty they paid on it? I'd like to see the duty, because the ordinary folks of Guyana have to pay their duties. They have to pay their duty. 128,000 US dollars. Thank you so much, Dexter Hillman. Thanks for your service, sir. 128,000 US dollars. And when you do the duty on that, the duty has to be somewhere in the vicinity of about 30 million Guyana dollars. I bet my last, hold on a second, guys. $1, $2, $3. That whoever owns this vehicle is someone close to the PPP, someone close. And so when you check, if you're to check with GRA right now, I am almost certain, guys, that these people probably paid a little crumbs, if at all they paid anything for duty. If at all they paid anything for duty. That is what's happening in Guyana. Those big overnight wealthy people get their riches through questionable circumstances. They don't pay things. They get people get Lamborghini in Guyana. They hardly pay taxes. They get Rolls Royce in Guyana. They hardly pay taxes. They get fancy race cars. They hardly pay taxes. And not just one particular set of people, not the ones who are sanctioned. They have others who have done that. Not a single. But the ordinary people who gotta buy a little minibus, you see how quick they gotta pay duty. Or a little car, you see how quick they gotta pay duty. But these overnight rich people, man, poor Guyana, right? Poor Guyana. Yet they love to cuss this guy. They love to cuss him, right, Desiree? They love to cuss him. But this guy, had it not been for him, a lot of them would have probably been somewhere, you know. But they are a pack of ungrateful people. Those who cuss this guy. He was not perfect. Free education from nursery to university. You know how many you picnic them? Go school, nursery school, I be used to eat free biscuit. I remember my days at Mr. Ross Nursery School, Bottom House at Alnis Village. Biscuit and milk. We go to school, we eat. Enough of them said they starve under Burnham, but yet Burnham used to mine all of them picnic, including me. Burnham taxpayers, this policy used to make sure that we get something to eat at school. Cereal, biscuit, milk. Oh gosh, those were the days. Huh? How many of them 8 as a result of Burnham's policy. But them are cost Burnham. Some of them they in the attic, them are cost. Some of them they in the basement, them are cost. Oh man, Bobby used to starve. Burnham starve, Bobby. All sort of things them say. Burnham ban. Burnham ban. So till some of them are call them Burnham. Burnham. They cannot to this day say, what Burnham ban? Whatever was restricted had the support of Cheddi Jagan. So if flour was restricted, they had the support of Cheddi Jagan. It wasn't banned. And then when flour was restricted, they said, oh, me mama, oh God, oh lad, oh God, oh, look what you do to Abby. Now want Abby eat roti. Oh, clap on roti. And these days you don't clap it, you know. These days you don't clap roti. They got a new way that us do the roti now. Y'all, what kind, how they us do the roti now, guys? How they us do it? Let's see.
If you don't want because we're excited to see you here. You're coming. Oh, God. You got the roti? You got to be kidding me. You got the roti, don't worry. Oh, Lord. You used to make roti when he was 5.
But let me see if he could clap.
You got shake now. You got shake. Shake it in.
This is all right.
This is the modern way.
Okay.
This is it.
All right.
Let's see how you shake it. Farmer Steve roti, the best roti in Brooklyn. Not so.
People has already got them places done shop these days. But at the end of the day, they shake a roti now. But flour, since when flour belongs to one ethnic group in Guyana? Since when? Oh man, people not eat bake, people not eat duff, or whatever you call them kind of things. And you know, one body, one ethnic group used to make roti. So they ball out, oh my mama, Burnham not like Abby, he banned flour. Right? That was a lie. That was a lie. Cessna Rhymes Singh, the former Speaker of the National Assembly, the late, said it best. That those items were never banned. And everybody in Guyana, oh man, oh, where my friend Rajin, and Aziz and so forth. Oh man, one set of people in Guyana eat flour or use flour to make things. Other people now use flour to make things. Yeah, one set of people. Oh man, oh, how them gonna do that and expect people to believe that? And then split peas was restricted. Oh, Burnham banned split peas. He not like Indian peas, all kind of things. But oh man, one set of people use split peas. But when Guyanese gonna get it right? When? Those who are living in a different world to believe the lies and the propaganda of the PPP. Oh man, oh, Burnham. They got to be grateful to Forbes Burnham. But the shame they don't want to be grateful to Forbes Burnham. And some of them who were close to Forbes Burnham party themselves, either them frightened or they don't want to say much to counter the propaganda of the PPP. At today's reclaying ceremony there in remembrance of President Forbes Burnham at the Botanical Garden. Yeah, a strange event, but nevertheless, it was an event. I don't see his children at these things, man. Let me get out of here. I don't see his children, though, at these sort of things. Why? Why don't they remember their father? He was the president of Guyana. Why? They're all in hiding. They don't come out. They don't do nothing. Oh. Look, let me go along the way. Y'all know how. Sometimes I just get myself in little problems with these things, but all the picnic them, you can see them, you not even see them. I even see picnic them. Forget about Granger, you not see Granger at these functions. But you not see picnic them, Burnham picnic them at these functions. Oh man. Now you get Dennis Atwell, he's stuck on one thing. Nigel for president, Nigel for president. All night to see him. Somebody take away Dennis Atwell's phone. Good night to you guys. I'm out of here, guys. I'm out of here. Desiree Simon, so good to see you. Roberta Ray, Sharmella, and all of you guys. I'm out of here. Again, condolences to the family of former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Simpson Desilva. A good guy. And I didn't get a chance to publicly extend my condolences to the family of Dr. Desilva. I know a lot of his family members, his brothers, very well, Josh, and and his wife, Dr. Desilva's wife, Nicola. Had a nice conversation with her earlier. Nicola, if you're watching, condolences on behalf of all of us here at 107.1 FM. All right, I'm out of here. See you guys tomorrow, same place, same time. Interesting program tomorrow. I have two members of the LGBTQ community in Guyana talking about the situation in Guyana. They will be on tomorrow. You'll get to hear all that's happening. Lots that's happening. I'm out of here, though. Talk to you guys later. God bless you all. Ta-ta.
So if I got children, I must suffer them to take what I don't want to eat for myself. That is totally wrong.
What?
And the parents got to stand up.
Rhonda, really thank you for taking time out. I'm not going to let you go now. I know you're a very brave person. You're out there in front of GCOM. We're not seeing a lot of people out there, but give us an update on the protests every week in front of GCOM.
Tuesday we had 8 persons. Faithfully.
One second, Rhonda. I kind of like, honestly, I like that laugh. I'm going to rephrase, I'm going to ask the question.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su.
Hawk 2.
But our government recognizes this as a challenge which it intends to accept and which it is determined to overcome. My government considers that it is a matter of the greatest importance and the utmost urgency that an atmosphere of relaxation be established immediately. The reduction of tension, which is already apparent and which will become more pronounced with every passing day, when it is realized that not only are we intent on being fair and just, but also that we have at our disposal the means to carry out our intention, is merely the first fruits of our attainment of office. Enemies of this country would like to see racial division and antagonism continue. They will not have that satisfaction. The government recognizes that its duty is to rule in the interests of all the people of this country. It will dispel the fears of the apprehensive and confound the hopes of those who seek the destruction of this country. To be specific, this government holds that all the people of this country are equally important, whether they belong to a large group or to a small group. To us, the Amerindians are important. To us, the Chinese are important. To us, the Portuguese are important. To us, the Europeans are important. To us, the mixed races are important. To us, the Africans are important. To us, the Indians are important. In short, all Guyanese are important and valued members of our community, and we cherish them and consider that as a government, it is our duty and privilege to guard, protect, and further the real interests of all. It would appear that the would-be destroyers of this country have sought to convince our Indian citizens that they have cause to fear because of the removal of the former government. We can assure our Indian citizens here and now that rather than cause for fear, they have much to hope for from the new government. This government is not bent on the confiscation of property. This government will not pursue policies likely to bring the races into collision. This government will maintain law and order. This government, while in office, will never declare its impotence to see that the lives and property and personal safety of any citizens are protected. We are fully aware that attempts will be made in the future, as in the past, to create disturbances. All of us know who are likely to create disturbances and who think that they have some benefit to be derived from chaos and violence. We have no benefit to derive from such things, and we will stamp out firmly and ruthlessly any disruption of the calm and studied and steady progress which we are determined to establish and maintain in this country for the good of all. We ask for time, patience, understanding. The damage done over the last 7 years cannot be repaired in a day. We cannot and will not condone and accept the nepotism and corruption of the past 7 years. Changes are necessary, and changes will be made. But no one who is honest and possessed of ability need have the least apprehension. The results of the election and the formation of our government are not to be considered a victory for one party, but a triumph for the whole Guyanese people. There is nothing to gloat over. Nobody is pantap. But all of us are, I am sure, sobered by the realization of how near we came to having our country destroyed, and how arduous were our endeavors to give this country the chance to live, to breathe, to survive. It has been reported to me that some established organizations have made representations to the British government about Guyanese affairs. I wish to announce that in the immediate future, I shall seek to hold discussions with the Mahasabha, the Hindu organization, the United Sadr Islamic Anjuman, ASCRIA, GALE, the Chinese Association, and of course with the Archbishop of the West Indies, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Georgetown, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Congregational Conference, the Methodist Body, and other religious and cultural organizations. My purpose as Premier is to establish a consultative democracy. And now that the majority of the Guyanese electorate has declared in favor of the government in power, it is my wish that Guyanese in and out of the legislature, with malice towards none and goodwill towards all, will settle down to the engaging task of binding up the nation's wounds and charting a new course, a new road of peace and prosperity for Guyana.